Soon you will recognize the voice of my guest today. He's been taking it to the people for over 4 decades on KOKY, the black dot on your dial, Mr. Joe Booker, known to his fans as simply Broadway Joe. Joe's career has had too many awards and accolades to name, but I can tell you this, since first coming to Arkansas in the 80s, Joe has made himself a leader in all things community. Starting at a small radio station in Lone Oak, Joe has built his career on hard work and devotion to his family, craft, community, and God, and not necessarily in that order. Today, Broadway Joe is not only a broadcasting legend who is still an on-air radio personality on KOKY, Power 92, and Praise Station, but he is also the program director for all of Cumulus Media in Little Rock, Arkansas market, and founder of the Broadway Joe talk show. It is a real treat to welcome to the table the community-minded broadcasting legend who's been taking it to the people for decades, Mr. Joe Booker, a.k.a. Broadway Joe.
Hooty hoo!
And the crowd goes wild.
I kind of started something back in the late 90s called Juneteenth, and the Juneteenth celebration.
I know.
Before.
Tell us all about it.
Well, I mean, people do celebrations all the time, but, Juneteenth celebration was when, and it was so, Kerry, I got to tell you, this was before the internet. And I would call across the country and try to get artists to come to Little Rock to be a part of it. And artists would come because they wanted to be seen in front of people. And mainly it was up-and-coming artists. If you were an up-and-coming artist, you got an opportunity.
Did people know what Juneteenth was?
No, that was a big deal. Because I'm talking to people in where the record labels are, New York and L.A. And I would get in a conversation explaining about, Galveston, Texas. And
tell our listeners what Juneteenth is, because I only learned about it probably 10 years ago.
It's the celebration of freedom for African Americans, and it's a story about Colonel Granger that rode his horse, and everybody, I always joke about the story, is, boy, that was the longest horse ride in it's about a year and a half to take it from Washington to tell the people in Galveston, Texas that you're free. And so it was on Juneteenth when that happened. And so I think
it took a year and a half?
Almost a year.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's how long it took for him to get there. But I read that he was fighting through. Once he got to the South, he was still fighting through Confederate soldiers that didn't know the war was over. So
really?
It took him a while, and that's the story that goes with it.
That's right.
Now.
There were no phones.
Yeah, well, no
none communication.
Of that. All right, Kerry, none of that stuff. Right,
you forget about that.
Right. And so that's kind of the history of how Juneteenth. And I'm from South Carolina. So Juneteenth was kind of new to me here also, but I noticed that a lot of Arkansans, because it's in Texas, that's a big thing. As a matter of fact, it's a state holiday in Texas. And it's a federal holiday now, but not a state holiday here. But it's a federal holiday and a state holiday in Texas. And that's kind of where the history of it starts. And everybody across the country. And now, since it's now a federal holiday, everybody kind of knows the history of what Juneteenth is and what it's all about. And I just have to say, I never would have thought back in 1997, 98, 99, when we were doing these Juneteenth celebrations, that it would be a national holiday. That's the thing, that I would live to see it if it ever happened.
And you're such a part of it.
Yeah. I mean,
especially in Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So the very first time you raised $140,000, that's pretty remarkable in 19.
And Kerry?
What?
20,000 went to the Watershed.
That's good.
Right. Every Juneteenth that we did, we gave the Watershed a percentage of what we got from it. And I think 22,000 may have been the highest that we got. But every year we gave money to the Watershed.
So tell our listeners what the Watershed group is.
Okay, the Watershed is the world's first social hospital, and it was founded by Reverend Dr. Hezekiah Stewart, who we lost a couple of years ago. He passed a couple of years ago, but the Watershed is still there now. And when I say social hospital, the best example I can give you is when I first went there, They would have the Tyson trucks there because during the Christmas time, they always feed people during the holidays. And I went there the first day and I volunteered to work on the truck. And I came back the second day and some of the same people we were giving food to were back again. And I was like, Rev, some of the people were here yesterday. And he said, Joe, we got to have enough for the needy and the greedy. I said, okay,
Oh, how
Rev.
funny.
And then, about the third or fourth day I go out there, someone had broken in the truck and stole some of the food out the truck. And I said, Rev, I said, they broke in the truck. You're giving away. He said, Joe, we got to have enough for the needy, the greedy, and the thievy.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been a part of the Watershed now for close to 35 years. I've been on the radio for 36. I met Rev back in the late 80s, and we still do our show. I do my show from the Watershed, my morning show for 3 days in a row before Christmas, and KOKY does a 3-day broadcast there. Also, I do mornings, they do middays, but we just encourage people to come out and give. They do toys for kids, big toy drive we do for kids, and then we do food boxes and all of that. And if you go there now, they have a pantry where you can go and get stuff.
Where's there?
The old Gillum School.
Where's that?
Off of Springer Boulevard now.
Oh.
You know, right, the exit before the airport.
Yeah,
it's just
by the
right there to the
Roosevelt.
right.
Yeah,
You'll see it.
downtown.
About 7 or 8 years ago, Little Rock's superintendent Mike Poore came out, and he actually, because the school district owned that building, but he sold it to the Watershed for $1.
And nice.
The Watershed was able to write some grants, get some funds, and it's been remodeled now, painted, and his wife actually runs it now. He passed, but his wife is now running the Watershed. You got some people that have been working there for over 30 years.
And they're feeding the needy.
Feeding the needy in
The
our
thievy,
community. Right.
and the greedy.
And the greedy. And it's called the world's first social hospital. And I got to tell you why it's the first social hospital. Because it's something, if somebody calls a radio station and they say, hey, I'm having problems. My house burned down. We send them to the Watershed. My lights are off. They have a relationship with the AP&L. My gas is this. They have a relationship with all of these people. But when I first got involved with it in the first social hospital, I remember Reb taking me to this room, and he said, "This is a support group for families of the incarcerated." And I said, "Why would you need a support families of the incarcerated?" And he said to me, and he called me over to the window, and he said, "You see that lady over there?" I said, "Yeah. She's got 5 kids, and right now, all 5 of them are in prison or jail." And I really had to think, as a parent, that could be traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
I get it now. But I didn't at first, but I got it now. But that's what I mean by social hospital, because there were so many different things
that they cure,
that they care for down there.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the full interview on the right side of the screen. Want to see more of Kerry's interviews? Subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of her latest shows. And as always, thank you for watching.